Hello, everyone. This is Dawn. I'm coming to you from downtown Pittsburgh. This podcast is the point where we talk everything wedding planning. And today I have a special guest. She's a well known makeup artist in the Pittsburgh and surrounding area. And today I want to welcome Shelby Lee from Shear Metal Beauty. And
Good.
Shelby, welcome to the show. Say hello to Pittsburgh brides.
Pittsburgh brides, I'm really happy to be here.
So when should brides start booking their hair and makeup services for their big day? Is there a specific time frame to keep in mind to ensure availability?
So I would say if you are looking for peak season, so I would say late April to I think honestly, I would still consider early November now peak season. If you're looking in that block, I would say a year in advance. If you're looking for off season, so late November through March, with the exception of if you're doing New Year's, because that is always a busy one. I would say peak season, you're looking at a year out. The rest of that, I would say probably 4 to 6 months out, you can probably get away with. But a
Okay.
year, good rule of thumb's about a year out.
And is there a calculation that you use to recommend stylists based on the bridal party size? Like one stylist per two or timeline
I
wise? How does that work out?
So I normally try to give everybody a solid 45-minute block per service. Now that starts to get chopped up if I have if I'm working with an assistant that day that's curling hair for me, then we're splitting that 45 minutes. If there's a lot of makeup, but a couple of them are like really young kids that obviously aren't going to require a lot of the skin prep and things like that, then you're looking at like a half an hour. So I think it's honestly like per bridal party, but I would say like at the absolute bare minimum for makeup, it's normally about 30 minutes.
Okay, great. And you mentioned skin prep. So let's talk about that. What should the bridal party, the bride and the bridesmaids and everyone, what are some things that you ask of them to prep for on their big day?
So when you book with me, I normally send it out at some point the week of. You'll get a big list and it'll tell you please, if you're going to use like sunless tanners, anything like that, instant tan, that needs to be done 48 hours or more ahead of time. If you're going to get facials, those need to be done 48 hours ahead of time. I know slugging has become super popular and has become a problem for me personally in the last couple of years. Please do that 48 hours ahead of time. Night of, morning of, you're going to need to do like a really good exfoliant. You're going to need a good moisturizer. I need you to bring out, your best chapstick, your best under eye cream. Even like if you don't have any of those things and you're like week of and you're like, I can't afford this, reach out. Like, we're not going to shame you for it. I've definitely brought exfoliant for, brides morning of, and I'm like, here, go take care of that. I'll see you in the chair in a couple of hours. But yeah, definitely you're looking at like exfoliation day of, waxing, all that needs to be done week prior. Good moisturizer, lots of water.
What is slugging?
Slugging is if you put a heavy moisturizing product, a lot of people use Vaseline. There are a couple like Korean skincare options that are for slugging, but it's a great way to like penetrate the skin barrier and get a lot of moisture in a short amount of time. The issue is it takes probably about a day or two to like wash your face and like rebalance everything in my experience. So some people tend to try to do that the morning of thinking, oh, well, you said like you need a lot of moisture and drinking water and this and that. And the thing is if there's too much product there, it's just going to slide off and there's really nothing I can do to save it at that point.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I learned you're teaching me. I learned something new. I had no idea what that was. I'm like, what is slugging
Right.
and Vaseline? Like
Mhm.
I'm a holistic girl, so I do a lot of holistic things, and Vaseline is one of those things like
Oh,
you
yeah.
never put on your skin. Everything that I read, you like it's a petroleum product, it's oil for God's
Yeah.
sakes. And so that shocked me. Sorry
Exactly. It
folks if
shouldn't
I was shocked.
as much as I dislike it, and I don't know what we put in our makeup products now that it fights me so bad. If you actually go back in like the history of makeup, and Whitey, who was Marilyn Monroe's makeup artist, like that's what they use. They put that over
Yeah.
foundation. Like that's what we had instead of highlighter. So like
Yeah.
I don't understand why I can't make it work, but it is like the OG of everything.
Yeah, and they used for years they said to use it to take your makeup off.
Yep.
Yeah, baby oil and Vaseline until they realized that it caused cataracts. And
Yep.
then they told people to stop doing that. But wow, interesting. And so let's talk about the differences between airbrush and traditional makeup. Any preferences there? Is one better for a different, generation, etc., or is it just preference?
So, how do I word this? So, I do offer both. I find that, especially the airbrush line that I use Ket. I feel like Ket dries down very matte. So, I find a lot if you have a lot of skin texture, not so much wrinkles. I feel like I can work around that most of the time. But if you have a lot of acne scarring, a bunch of uneven texture, dry patches, airbrush is not for you. If you aren't ready to dermaplane your whole face so it's super smooth, it's not for you because that's going to cling to all your peach fuzz. As beautiful as
Okay.
airbrush is, I do love it. It is, I tell people all the time, it's great during COVID because it was the number one most sanitary thing you could do because it's never touching your
Right.
face. But it is hard and it's not for everybody. But it is a much, if you are willing to do the prep work to get there, to have the skin for airbrush, I think it's a great option. It's super thin. Mine lasts all night long. And I know some people disagree with that and, the different lines that are out there. Traditional makeup, I think can be applied very thin. I think you have a more open range of like how much coverage you want. You can have a more open range of like kind of like picking and choosing as far as like I want a full coverage concealer, but like a really, really light foundation and like really being able to make that blend when you were using more of like a traditional like cream wax, whatever type of makeup.
And that answers one of the questions that I had a little further on down the line. What are your top tips for brides with specific skin conditions, acne, dryness, sensitive skin, when it comes to makeup and skincare leading up to the wedding? It seems like you would prefer one service over the other. Are there any tips that you have for them?
So if you are having a lot of issues with your skin, I suggest 6 months to a year out going to an esthetician. I know I work with an aesthetic salon that I love dearly, and I send everybody over there. Also, a good if you have more of like a hormonal issue, if you're looking at cystic acne, bacterial acne, fungal acne, anything like any kind of fungal issue on your face, please go see a dermatologist.
Okay,
So that would
good.
be mine. You can go see both of them if that's what you want. But yeah, I would definitely you got to get down a good skincare regimen and follow it through. It'd be my best advice to anybody trying to prepare for their big day.
So I'm going to give you one of my best old wives' tales because I'm an old woman. Zinc.
Yes, zinc is great.
Zinc is so good for your skin. I knew somebody that their entire back would break out and I mean just covered in acne. And this was, 30 years ago. And doctor prescribed just I think you can only do like 10 milligrams a day of zinc. You have to be careful not to overdo
Yeah.
it on zinc because it's counterproductive in other areas. Completely wiped out their problem. And then my next door neighbor, she had a skin condition that kept coming up and the doctors couldn't figure out what it was, but she kept getting like these brown spots and when it happened, it would do like almost her whole face. And she's a young girl, she's 18 or 19. She was so subconscious about it. She worked for us. She was a photo booth attendant. And I told her, I said, Sydney, try zinc. And I bought her some. And I was like, take a 10 milligram every day. And like that was, I think, last summer. And she's like, Dawn, I can't believe it. You don't know how many doctors I went to and zinc just cleared it up. So sometimes those old wives' tales.
I mean, growing up, that's what they would always say. If you had like body acne of any kind, they're like, this is going to sound nuts, but wash your body with Head and Shoulders. And it's because it contains zinc.
Wow, I didn't know that one. I'm enjoying our conversation. This is a great conversation. When brides schedule their trial for their hair and makeup, what should they bring with them that will assist you? And then also to follow up, what should they bring day of?
So to your trial, you should bring photos. I say normally about four of each. So, like what you're looking at for hair, what you're looking at for makeup. I try to urge you to find like one on my page specifically that you like, because then I can like match it to your Pinterest board and like we can really start dissecting what you're looking for. Also, four photos of your hair, what you're looking for. If you have any like deep concerns, that's all I take care of all that with photos, veils, hair pieces, extensions if you're going to bring them. The trial is when to bring them. Obviously, if we decide you need extensions at the trial, you don't need to come back for another one. We are prepared day of for them. Other than that,
Fab.
a very interesting one that I've started doing, which I do like, is a lot of my natural brides, I tell them to bring their favorite 2 to 3 lip colors. because then you really get a range of what they're really comfortable wearing, what they're used to wearing, what color palette they feel like they fit in. And that one's been personally really helpful for me. And I've just started doing that probably in the last couple of months.
3. Bring 3 different ones with you if
Yeah.
you're a natural girl, meaning you like your makeup natural, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like if you are like I don't wear anything kind of person, like, yeah.
And I think that's another maybe misconception on the consumer's part, and I say consumers meaning the entire bridal party, is the reason you have your hair and makeup done for the most part is for photography, because photography requires a little bit more to be done than you would if you were doing your own makeup. And the professional artists know how to execute that. They also know how to make your makeup last all day. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So there's a lot of talk about like when you become a makeup artist, you should be able to do X, Y, and Z. And this I get into a lot of the conversations about like hiring your hairstylist that does your highlights to do your wedding and how sometimes that can really clash and not work out. And it's the same way as if like I know Ulta is an option. And I'm not saying they're all bad artists working at the counters of Ulta, but when
Sure.
you're a bridal artist specifically, you need that makeup to look fantastic, like this close to someone's face and from 10 feet away at that ceremony. So it's really a different concept of like having to do everyone's make everything has to be in very thin layers. So it's like a different technique on top of it. So when you're trying to do all this and then make it last, you have to layer, like probably I would say at a bare minimum, you have 3 to 4 layers a very, very, very thin product on your face. And then we know I layer setting sprays. Anybody who works with me knows that you don't breathe around me. A lot of setting sprays, a lot of hairsprays too. But
You're
so I
flammable.
layer oddly enough, the L'Oreal 3 second setting spray and the Scandinavia bridal spray. And that will keep
Okay.
you from sweating. And I always tell people as long as you don't rub it off like aggressively and you don't scratch it off, it's normally there.
Yeah, I've always worked in cataloging my entire life. Previous to returning back to Pittsburgh in 2005 because my mother needed me. I lived in Houston and we were always on set doing cataloging. And I was always working with a makeup artist. I was always working with a photographer. That was like a regular gig for me. And so I fully respect and understand all of that. But again, I don't think that the consumers do. They don't get it. I can do my own makeup. Well, yeah, but is it going to last all day? Or are you going to be worrying about if you tear up and cry during the ceremony or if it's a hot, muggy, sweaty day? All of those things are such good reasons why you should invest in a makeup artist. And tell me a little bit about fees. Like, what's the going rate? It's 2025, and this video could be 2 years old if somebody's watching it. But in Pittsburgh, in the general area, what are you seeing? What's the high? What's the low? What's the average?
I would say the absolute lowest for a licensed professional that I've seen with at least a year of experience is around $85. Like that is the bare minimum lowest you should be paying. And I would say that's a party price, not an individual price.
Okay.
And I would say
Party
absolute
price.
highest I've seen is about 250.
What does party price mean?
So party pricing is when you are a bride only, you should probably expect to pay a little bit more because we are blocking out a different like we're going all the way out that location for you and for you only. We are blocking out the rest of our day. We may not be able to take other clients that day. So a lot of the times you're going to pay a little bit of a premium to be by yourself. But if you have like a larger party, we're able to kind of like our little tiny fees we have to put in there. So, like our taxes and things like that, we're going to have to take out of each party to pay and things like that. Like they can kind of be spread out a little bit more. So, it's not as expensive per person.
I get that. I see the brides ask that a lot in the group and they say, I just need makeup for myself and someone else. And, why is it so unaffordable? And now that makes sense.
Yeah. That's like
That
I tell
time
people all
is
the time.
money.
Sometimes if you're not on a Saturday, it's a little helpful if you're a bride only. If you're downtown, you're definitely on a better track because probably most of us are downtown that day too. But yeah, like I feel bad. I definitely just had somebody not too long ago that asked me to do Cleveland and it was bride only. And I was like, listen, on a Saturday during peak season, like unfortunately I'm gonna be charging you.
Yeah, sure. And can you tell me a little bit? let's get into it since we're talking price. So on the high end, 250, low end, 85, less experience for a license. But is that hair and makeup or is that
That's
just
per
one
service.
service
Yeah.
per service? And then let's talk a little bit about, I know sometimes we have traveling fees, we have parking, we have other things. And I think sometimes the public, they get, a little bit sticker shock when that comes out. And I know that's part of your process. So all of you, not just you, just everyone. So talk to a little bit about that, please.
So I think everybody is different as far as travel fees go. I know most of us, no matter where we live, we don't charge one for downtown. Again, we just kind of expect to be there. I know like a lot of people have come to me and they're like, I know it's like far out there in Elwood City and like whatever. And I'm like, but Elwood City's not that far from me. So like I don't charge a travel fee there, but I've had people come to me and want me to come out to Latrobe. And I'm like, yeah, there is a travel fee for that. I personally, I try to like, I think my contract says that I charge over like 15 miles. I probably give myself a little bit more than that. I feel like once you start getting over like the 45-minute mark of driving, like I start charging a travel fee.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We do with our business, we do 50 miles around Pittsburgh. So if it's beyond 50 miles from downtown Pittsburgh, then we start allocating $1 a mile,
Yeah.
because we do
I
have
feel like that's
people,
kind of where we all are about it is the dollar.
yeah, up in Erie and, Morgantown
Yeah.
or, it can be all of that's a really good question. So I know that you're in Pittsburgh and most of the artists that are in our group are from Pittsburgh. Do you ever see like the makeup artists from Ohio and West Virginia, coming in and they're not licensed to do, or does the license transfer and it's okay? How does that work?
You can't come in and work at a salon with an out of state license. It starts to become like a really weird gray area. So like I don't want to answer the question incorrectly.
Okay, fair enough.
But as far as like certain states, like I can go to Florida and open up a salon tomorrow if I wanted to because we're reciprocal
Okay.
there.
Okay.
I believe we're
I
also
did see that.
reciprocal with West Virginia.
Yeah,
So,
I did see that on their website that there are some states that are and some states that are not.
yes.
And so, okay, fair enough answer. One last question for you on the monetary aspect. Let's talk about gratuity because I know not everyone considers this and who should consider it, how much, what is, I know that most of us that have a good heart that love to work in the industry, in the most part, it's appreciated, never expected. But what's your thoughts on that?
I would say across the board, I normally see between 10 to 20% of like the total bill, or I see like 5 to 10% per service as far as tips go. But I mean, like, I'm on the train of like, it's not expected at all. I think you should think of certain things like if your artist did go out of their way and they really went, like they drove over 2 hours, like you probably should tip them. That was, still great. If you can't afford a tip, I can speak for myself. I'm not judging you. Like, I know starting out, I couldn't afford my friends' prices to get my makeup done, let alone tipping them. So I totally respect if somebody cannot afford a tip, but everyone can afford to leave somebody a nice review.
Nice.
And that is
Good
the best
answer.
tip you can give anybody.
Yeah. It's actually it's more than the tip,
Yes.
right? Because that gets you future business and those current reviews are so important. So I know that people leave reviews on Wet and Wire and The Knot and Google if you have a Google My
Yeah.
Business, anywhere else that they can leave a review for their makeup artist or their team
Yeah.
that you can
I
think
know we
of.
have like Zola and stuff now. Just ask your artist. Like if you booked them through a certain website, that website will normally start poking you a couple days later and it's like, you should leave reviews for your vendors. But yeah, if you're like, I want to leave a review or, whatever, you can ask them. If you don't want to ask them, you could go into one of the wedding groups. You can make a post on Instagram. Like, yeah, wherever you shout us at. We're all very internally grateful for it. It gives us all butterflies. It's very exciting.
Butterflies is a great way
Yeah.
to describe it. People do not realize like how much passion and love and consideration goes into being there for your wedding day. I mean, if you work 52 weeks out of the year and you're working weddings for the most part, you're giving up every Saturday. You're
Yep.
working all through the week with logistics and returning those emails in a prompt fashion, even if it's acknowledgement of receipt. And you are doing your best to service your customers, not just the day of the wedding, but, all leading up into the day of the wedding. And those reviews are, that is the brass ring that we
Yeah,
all reach for, is that we wanna know that we knocked it out of the park for you, that
exactly.
you couldn't be happier. And on the other side of the coin, if there's something wrong and something you weren't happy with, when you're working with your makeup artist, I think it's really important to speak up, especially during that trial, right? Do you ever have any
Yeah.
scenarios where the brides do not do that?
Yeah. And it's probably really uncomfortable to be like in my space. And then I know it's really hard to like say, like, you know what, I really don't like this or I'd like to change this. And I'm like, shoot me a text, shoot me an email. Like, I don't care. Like, we'll make and adjust those changes, as we go. My bride today, I had a bride earlier. She did like a really pretty updo with like a braid and she came today and she was like, you know what, I think I just want it all down. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I don't think any of us are ever like truly offended. My only thing that I would tell everybody is that everyone has their own style. So I do get a lot of comments on the weekends because I like my eyelashes really big and I like my eyeliner really big and I like my hair really bright. And so sometimes people do take the misconception that they're like, I just don't want to look crazy. And I'm like, just because I look like this does not mean this is the work that I produce on other people that pay me.
This is my style,
Yeah,
and I wanna make you look beautiful in your style, right?
exactly.
No, I totally get that, and I'm glad that you said that because I think that's really important. I mean, you're the painter on their canvas, and they're creating the portrait of how they wanna see themselves on their day, and it's your job to get them there. That's
I think you can also look for like a lot of us have like little niche specialties. Not that I honestly don't know any of us artists that at least I work with and speak to that don't do a little bit of everything. But like a lot of us have like little niche specialties that if you are looking for that in your wedding day, just ask. And I would say even a lot of us, like I've had people come to me and I think they just look at me personally and they were like, I want this super cool special effects Halloween makeup. You're my person. And I'm like, I am not actually. Let me refer you
to
to
Krista
somebody else.
Lee, right?
Yeah. I refer them to Krista. And Krista does the same thing. Like she's had people, like I want really traditional Hollywood waves. And Krista's like, you know what? I'm not your person, but go see if Shelby's available. She's, the person you want to deal with.
And that's what's amazing about the Pittsburgh Brides community in itself, that we have this open conversation and that we're willing to say, you know what, I'm booked, but I've got somebody that can help you. And I know that you guys are a tight knit community as well, right? You guys kind of
Yeah.
cover and have each other's back. And I know that mostly, answer this question for me. When you bring in a team to work an event,
Mhm.
are they employees or are they other makeup artists that you feel fit that bill of what you need that day?
When I have a team come in, I have all independent contractors. So, like, I know I go on a lot of weddings for Krista. Krista comes on a lot of weddings for me. And
Right.
she's not my employee. Like, I'm paying her out that day, but she is, I guess, what you consider a subcontractor.
And that's fine.
Yes, absolutely. I have, I guess, technically a single employee now, and she is a wonderful, aspiring child. She is 17. She comes on, she curls hair, and that's it. And
Wonderful.
she's my sole employee, I guess. But yeah, I would say 90% of us, if you have somebody coming in, we're independents. So
And I want to bring that to light for this reason, because I think when somebody says my team, they assume that they work for you. And I think it would be, remiss to say, they work for you 7 days a week when they're only there primarily the day of services and only in the morning. Like, you can't sustain paying someone 40 hours a week. And that's why a lot of these makeup artists, they contract out with each other and they like find out who's busy. Are you available? Can you work
yeah.
this gig for me? They're not losing any money, they're getting paid for their time and their services, but they essentially are not a team.
And there's also there's a second side to this if you are a stylist that is looking to join a team. So the state of Pennsylvania, unless you are a 40-hour a week kind of person, we don't recognize non-competes. So yes, you can be an employee, but in the same sense, you're still kind of by yourself. But I will be completely honest, I don't think I know anybody in this industry, at least at the current time, that solely works for a company. They don't take on any work themselves at this point. I think most of the bigger team companies, they have independence. And I think that's honestly the best way to go. I feel like sometimes when you work for somebody else for so long, you do start viewing this as like it is a job, but like a job. like And I think you
Not a
have to dedicate so much more of that when you work in this industry. You are repeating somebody's best day every weekend, and you need to bring that same energy every single time.
good answer, well stated. And if you were an employee, no disrespect, there's none intended here. You couldn't afford these makeup artists, what they would have to charge you to have these people on staff and available. Like, that's a lot of staff for a big wedding, right? Like, it
Yeah,
makes the most economic sense from a business standpoint,
yeah, I would definitely.
correct?
That is at least for me and from my standpoint, I think it would be the easiest way to look at it.
This bride that we did the interview with that is going to drop on Tuesday, that was left ghosted by her makeup artist, kept referring to her team, that her and her team, her and her team. And so the bride felt that it was an employee, that these were employees and that was her team. And why didn't her team show up? So there was this illusion created in her mind that these were employees, and she didn't really understand that they were independent contractors. And the one
Yeah,
girl that showed up to do her hair had no clue who the makeup artists were, and they didn't really know each other. And that caused even more confusion for the bride. And I felt so bad for her. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that they just book out with each other to cover what they need to cover. That the majority of them have a specific salon with 7 artists ready to go. And those all same 7 artists are dedicating the same day, the same wedding going. Like, I think that's the exception, not the norm.
yeah, I would say, as I said, like this goes back to that. If you are booking out a lot of these companies, especially if you're looking at like an individual, I'll say like an individual with an umbrella. So, like for example, I am the head artist, and then I've got 5 or 10 team stylists under me. If you are booking them out and you're not paying that premium for the head artist, um, I would be asking pretty early on, well, who's my stylist? When can I start speaking with them? When can I set up stuff with them? As I said, it really shouldn't third party. I feel like, and I know some companies do it, I feel like that brings a lot of unstableness to the situation, because God forbid something does happen. Say you do have like an early start time, 5 a.m., and God forbid your stylist ends up in a car accident. She can't contact you. You can't contact her. You're calling the other person. They're not answering because their call time's not till 9.
The
So
bottom
I think
line to any of this drama is ask whoever you're booking. I want to know who my stylist is going to be. I want to interview my stylist. Who's going to be working on me that day
yeah.
before you
Also,
pay
I mean, like
anyone?
if you're looking at a big team like that, or say you did hire a big team, and you're like, you know what, I really didn't want to go back through them again, but I really like that artist. Again, go in their tagged photos. Most of the time, either we've posted something and we've tagged them, or a photographer has posted something, and though they tag them, they normally tag us too because they know us individually.
Sure, sure. That makes sense. Such great insights, Shelby. Thank you so much. I think this is going to be incredibly valuable to our community, our Pittsburgh brides, and shed some insight when you're looking to book a cosmetologist for your big day. I've learned a lot from you in this conversation. I thank you for your time. I'm so glad that we got to share this time together and get to know each other personally. You are just a doll baby. And I know one of my besties is one of your besties. So
Yes.
that makes us besties by affiliation.
Yeah.
And how can they reach you if they are interested in working with you?
If you Google Shear Metal Beauty, I come up on Google. I come up on the Knot. I'm on Instagram is like normally where I pin people to, because that has like my most recent work. I post on there about daily. So yeah, you can find me pretty much everywhere.
And I will also put those links in this video so they could just click and find you and reach out to you and hopefully get a consultation from you.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I'm going to sign off. This is Dawn coming to you from downtown Pittsburgh. Thank you for tuning in today. Shelby, thank you for being with us. I enjoyed the insights and perspective on your industry. I wish you a prosperous 2025, 26, 27, and I'm already hearing we're booking 28.
Yes.
My goodness.
I know.
Everyone, thank you so much for being a part of the community. We appreciate you. Be safe. Talk to you soon. Bye.